Alright, after you have your levels created, your main building stories, now it's time to import CAD files that you have received from an outside consultant or a client of some sort. Alright? So here, what we're going to do is, remember, Revit is communicating with you. So we're trying to bring something external into this file. So of the tabs that we have populated at the top, Insert is the tab that's most logical as to what we're trying to do. So if I hit Insert, I'm dealing with CAD files, so I'm going to hit Link CAD. And this dialog box pops up. This is where you navigate to where those CAD files exist. You can see by my icons here that you don't see the AutoCAD symbol. That's because I don't even have AutoCAD installed in my computer. That shows you guys that you can do everything with Revit. You don't need to have all these other softwares installed just so you're able to manipulate them, okay? So since I'm in level 1 right here on my left, you see that? On my project browser, I'm active in that view. Now I'm going to link in the corresponding CAD file from, in this case, the architect, all right? So I have it selected, and I'm going to leave the positioning to the default, which is auto origin to internal origin. We'll get a little bit, I'll explain that a little bit later. So let's hit open, and let's see where it brings it in. So that's where the origin, which is an internal point, both in AutoCAD and the internal origin in Revit, it's two invisible points that Revit uses to line something up, right? But what I like to do is I like to take this world, right, this Revit world, very, very literally. This is your time or your chance to be very organized with how you set it up. So if I go to my visibility graphics for this view, if I go to my properties tab, right, I have nothing selected, so the options I see here in my properties on the left are view properties for this view. I'm going to go into visibility graphics and scroll down to site. So if I go to site and I turn it on, and now I open the tree for site and I turn on project base point. If you are working in an updated version of Revit 2020, you will see internal origin. If you're not working in an updated version of 2020, all you will have is project base point. I'm in 2021, but for the sake of this training, or for this training purposes, sorry, we're going to use project base point because that exists in multiple versions of Revit. So let's just hit OK. You see that little cross that popped up there kind of in the middle of the building? It looks like it's nowhere. It's not really going anywhere. That point is located at the internal coded 000 location of Revit, of this file. So I like to take that point very literally. To me, because I'm already at a disadvantage, right? We're trying to build a model from just CAD files, right? That's not how, let's just say, the most desired workflow that Revit wants. We have to use all of these tools to our advantage. So when I see that point, I want it to mean something for me. Remember, I'm the creator of this world, right? So that point for me will represent the bottom left-hand corner of my grid system. And by grids, we mean, this 1, 2, 3, A, B, and C. So that point will represent the intersection of grid 1, C. So now what we do is we take our CAD background, so go ahead and hover over it until you see it highlight. That's the pre-selection. Click on it, and by default, whenever you link a CAD file or an external CAD file, Revit pins it. The reason that you know that it's pinned is that you got this little dot with this, diagonal line. The translation for that is if you have a post-it note on your wall and you put a thumbtack through it, well, if you try to pull that post-it note, it's going to get all messed up, right? It's going to rip the paper. Same thing here. When you pin something, it's like putting a thumbtack over a post-it note. Revit doesn't allow you to move it by accident. So if I were to select this CAD background and hit move, and I try to move it, Revit automatically tells me I can't move this pinned element. Revit's communicating with you. So let's cancel out of here, select the CAD background, and unpin it simply by selecting that thumbtack. Okay? Now we can move this background. So with it highlighted, go ahead and hit the move button. Zoom in to that intersection of this grid and this grid, so you should get an intersection here. And if you want intersection to highlight, you guys can see the little triangle is highlighting right now. On your keyboard, type in SI. So what that triangle really is, it's called a snap. Right? It is snapping to the midpoint, which in this case is represented by a triangle. If I hover over the edge, it gives you a box. That is an endpoint. You can see Revit telling me what it is. So if I want to see intersection, a cross, I can type in SI. And now Revit gives me an intersection. So let me click. That is my starting move location. Now you can just zoom out and find your point until it highlights. Point. And click to place. Let's hit escape twice. Escape twice. And now let's repin our CAD background. We don't want to move this thing by accident, remember? So select your CAD background and you can repin it here, or on your ribbon look for the thumbtack, which is right there, and hit pin. So now it's you've placed your thumbtack on top of your post-it note, okay? So now let's zoom extents. We want to see the extent of whatever exists in this file so far. So on your keyboard, type in ZE, ZE, and now we see everything. So you're getting a good sense for how I'm using a Revit structural template just like right out of the box. It doesn't seem like much is really organized, right? Like the point isn't even at a location that is centered on my 4 elevations, right? That I have. There's the other elevation right there that I selected. You got these 4 elevations and that point isn't even centered. Okay, so these are all things that you should take notes on, because as you start adjusting your model, you may want to use this file as a template for future files. All right, so in this case I'm just going to hide. Remember, whenever you use the word on, off, hiding, think of visibility graphics, and every view has its own visibility graphics. I'm going to turn off or hide my elevations. So let's go to VG. We're going to start getting into keyboard shortcuts here. VG. Let's go over to annotation categories, and now let's look for elevations. If you select any title and now type in EL, it'll shortcut and take you straight to the place where you want to go. So let's click on elevations and uncheck, and they hide. Now if you were to retype on your keyboard ZE, ZE, now only your CAD background just zoom extends, right? ZE, it zoom extends to this window, okay? So let's do the same thing with level 2. Let's go to our project browser and click level 2. Now here let's do ZE, ZE. Let's turn on that project base point, so that's a visibility graphic, VG. Project base point lives under site. So I'm going to turn on site, open the tree, and turn on project base point. There it is. Now I'm going to insert, right? I am bringing in something external into this world. So let's go to Insert tab and hit Link CAD. Navigate to the file that you need and click on Level 2 and hit Open and perform the same thing you did before. I'm not going to save this quite yet. And now let's zoom in here, select my CAD file, remove my thumbtack, hit the move button, and I'm going to zoom into the same bottom left-hand grid intersection. So let's just zoom out a little here. Here's one. So I know I need to be right around here. If I zoom in, now I'm going to type in on my keyboard SI. And there it is. It's there. Come on. Right there. That is the intersection of my grids. So I'm going to click to start my location and find the point. Just hover over it until Revit tells me point. Yes, I need this point. After you've moved it, don't forget to go ahead and repin it. Place that thumbtack back on that post-it note. All right, now let me hit a ZE, zoom extents. I'm going to hide my elevations. That is a visibility graphic, VG. Go over to annotation categories and type in EL. And let's turn off elevations. And now, after it's turned off, I can type in ZE. Okay. So, because we're only working with CAD files, we're not working with external Revit models and having that workflow, we no longer need our project base points visible here. We just use them to locate our CAD backgrounds, our references as we build our structure. So you can turn them off. So VG, SI, spacebar, tab, enter. For those of you that are really getting into keyboard shortcuts, you will start noticing that that is a lot quicker and just it becomes more organic to use the keyboard. All right, now you can see in the back that I got 4 tabs open. Those are also called views. The more views you have open, the more Revit has to think. Right now, everything's rather fast because we have nothing populated in here. We don't have anything modeled. But as you start actually populating this model with elements, you're adding file size. The more windows and views you have open, Revit has to think about what that element looks like every time you make a change. So I encourage you to keep that amount of tabs, of views, to a minimum. So I'm going to close those inactive views. So go ahead and go to your View tab, and on the far right, hit Close Inactive. Now you can see that I only have 1 here. Okay? Now, you can change your colors, and you can modify what your CAD background looks like in here. So let's just say that, I don't need all this text. I don't need, these door tags. I don't need none of that. So let's go ahead and turn some of these things off. You can do that by selecting the CAD background, and on your ribbon, go ahead and hit Query. And now hover over the element that you want to modify. See that? Or this guy like that. Click on it. And now Revit tells you what layer it's on. You can delete the layer, which I don't recommend. I like just hiding in this view. And now you start cleaning up what your file looks like. Same thing with the legend. I can click here and hit Hide in View. And things start to clean up a little bit. Same thing with my tags and my door tags. Let's zoom in here and let's hide door tags as well. And if you want to hide these hatch patterns, you can. Feel free to do whatever you need to do to make this workable for you. There is no standard that any company can give you as to what works better for you. This is how you need to view it for your workspace to be better, okay? So I'm going to turn off those. I'm going to turn off some window tags here. Let's turn off some of these window tags. These question marks that didn't populate. Let's hide those. And if you want, you can also hide, let's see, can I hide this? Area pattern. Let's hide those as well. There we go. You can see how it's starting to clean up a little bit. We know what's a bathroom, right? I don't need something telling me. And most of you will have this CAD background populated, but you also have like a PDF set, of what the architect in this case had completely detailed and annotated out. So you have two references, all right? So that is the basic as to how to set up and bring in your CAD files. Use those points very literally. Use them to your advantage, because anyone that sees your files will take them and analyze them as well. So it's nice when everything is very nicely organized.